class 8th. This is our session for English, and in this session we are going to learn a poem. Okay, we'll read a poem, and the name of that poem is The Schoolboy. Okay, this is your 5th poem. The name of the poem is The Schoolboy. Okay, now who is the poet of this poem? The poet of this poem is William, William, William Blake. Okay, who is the poet of this poem? The poet of this poem is William Blake. Okay, if we talk more about William Blake, he was born on 28th November 1757, much long before you and me, right? 1757. He was born on 28th November 1757 and he died on 12th of August 1827. Okay, he was an English poet, painter and a printmaker. Further, if we look at his, you can say, marriage and early career, then it could be said that Blake met Catherine Boucher in 1782. Okay, when he was recovering from a relationship that had culminated in a refusal of his marriage proposal. He recounted the story of his heartbreak for Catherine and her parents, after which he asked Catherine, "Do you pity me?" When she responded affirmatively, he declared, "Then I love you." Blake married Catherine, who was 5 years his junior, and on 18th August 1782, in St. Mary's Church, Battersea, he married. Okay, Catherine signed her wedding contract with an X because Blake had met a refusal before he married Catherine. Okay, now more about it is that if we talk about his education, regarding the education of our poet of this poem, William Blake, on October 1779, Blake became a student of the Royal Academy in Old Somerset School near the Strand. Okay, and while the term of his study required no payment, he was expected to supply his own materials throughout the 6-year period. Okay, and further Blake became friend of John Flaxman, Thomas Stohard and George Cumberland during his first year at the Royal Academy. Okay, so this is something about our poem. What did he, if we want to talk about his death, as we know that he died. Okay, Blake's last year were spent in Fountain Court of the Strand. Okay, in the 1880s, when the Soy Hotel was built. On the day of his death, Blake worked relentlessly on his Dent series. Eventually, it is reported that he ceased working and turned to his wife, who was in tears by his bedside. Means, at the time of his death also he was working. Okay, Blake is said to have cried, "Stay, Kate, keep just as you are. I will draw your portrait, for you have ever been an angel to me." This he said to his wife, Catherine. He used to call her Kate. Okay, At 6 that evening, after promising his wife that he would be with her always, Blake died. Here we are talking about at his dead time. What happened at when he was dying? Okay, at the time of his death, he was drawing as we saw that he was a painter also. So at the time of his death, he was painting his wife's portrait. Okay, and he has told at the time of his death, he said that I have been at death not of a man, but of a blessed angel. Okay. Now George Richmond gives the following account, gives an account of Blake's death in the letter to Samuel Palmer. What does he write? What did George Richmond write when William Blake died? In a letter to Samuel Palmer, he writes that he died in a most glorious manner. He said that he was going to that country he had all his wife wished to see, expressed himself happy, hoping for salvation through Jesus Christ. Means this is all what about Blake people used to think, his friends or other people used to think. Okay, so this is all about our poet of this poem named William Blake. Okay. Further we will read the poem twice. Okay, and after that stanza wise we'll see the explanation to this poem. Okay. Now if we want to know some of the books, before moving further, if we want to know some of the books written by Blake, illuminated books were Songs of Innocence and of Experience. Songs of Innocence was written in 1789, edited you can say. The Book of Thale, okay, that was written in 1788 and edited in 1789. The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, that was written in 1790. Vision of the Brothers of Albion, okay, it was edited in 1793. Okay, the Book of LOS, that's Loss, was edited in 1795. The Book of Ahania was edited in 1795. Okay, so these were such kind of books which were written by William Blake. Okay, now further let's read this poem first. We'll read the poem twice and then we will move to the explanation. So moving on to the poem first. Let's read the whole poem first, okay? And then we will move to the introduction and explanation of the poem stanza wise. The Schoolboy by William Blake. I love to rise in a summer morn when the birds sing on every tree, the distant huntsman winds his horn, and the skylark sings with me, oh what a sweet company. I love to rise in a summer morn when the birds sing on a lovely tree, the distant huntsman winds his horn, and the skylark sings with me, oh what a sweet company. Second stanza. But to go to school in a summer morn, oh it drives all joy away. Under a cruel eye outworn, the little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. But to go to school in a summer morn, oh it drives all joy away. Under a cruel eye outworn, the little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. Then at times I drooping sit and spend many of anxious hour, nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning's bower, worn through with the dairy shower. Then at times I drooping sit and spend many of anxious hour, nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning's bower, worn through with the dreary sower. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? How can a child, when fears annoy, droop his tender wing and forget his youthful spring? How can the bird that is born for joy but in a cage and sit in a cage and sing? How can a child, when fears annoy, but droop his tender wing and forget his youthful spring? Last two stanzas. O father and mother, if buds are nibbed and blossomed blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the screaming day by the sorrow and care's dismay. How shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer fruits appear? Or how shall we gather out griefs destroy, or bless the mellowing year when the blasts of winter disappear? O father and mother, if buds are nibbed and blossomed blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the springing day by sorrows and cares dismay, how shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer fruits appear? Or how shall we gather out griefs destroy, or bless the mellowing year when the blasts of winter appear? Okay, this is the poem with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stanzas. Read the poem once more. Okay, now we will move to the introduction of the poem. After the introduction of the poem, I'll explain you the poem stanza wise. Okay, so better pay attention on that. So let's move to the introduction and then the explanation. Now, as we saw that William Blake was an English poet, okay, he was a painter also. We saw that at the time when he was dying, he was drawing his wife's portrait at that time, okay, so he was a very good poet also and a printmaker also. He was born on 28th November, we saw that also, in 1757, okay. Where was he born? He was born in a city called Soho, that is in London, okay. Largely unrecognized during his lifetime, Blake is now considered a seminal figure in the history of the poetry and visual arts of the Romantic age. Okay, now what is seminal figure? What is seminal figure? SEMINAL, seminal figure. Seminal figure means original, important, and having great influence on future development. Okay, Blake is now recognized as considered as an seminal figure in the history of poetry. Okay, now moving to the first stanza. Rest I have told you about William Blake many things. His wife was Catherine, he had done a second marriage with her and all the things. Moving to the first stanza. I love to rise in a summer morn when the birds sing on every tree, the distant huntsman winds his horn, and the skylark sings with me. Oh, what a sweet company. This is the first stanza. What is the poet trying to say in this stanza? In this stanza, the poet is trying to say, I'm feeling too cold. In the first stanza, the poet is trying to say that the boy loves to wake up early in the morning when the birds sing. Okay? He's in the first line it is there. I love to rise in the summer morn. Means the boy likes in the poem the boy likes to wake up early, get up early in the morning when the birds are singing on the tree. Okay? The boy likes the sound of the distant huntsman when he blows the huntsman. What is a huntsman? What is huntsman? Huntsman. Huntsman. Huntsman means the person who hunts. Okay. Here he is telling that the boy likes the sound of the distant huntsman when that huntsman blows his horn. Okay. And the boy also enjoys the company of a small brown bird. Okay, what is that small brown bird? The name of that small brown bird is skylark. Skylark is the bird. Okay. So, the boy also likes the company of that small skylark bird that sings with him. Okay, the boy loves it. Okay, so this is in the first poem that the boy loves to wake up early in the morning. He likes when the birds sing. He also likes the sound of the distant huntsman horn blowing. Okay, and he also enjoys the company of the small bird that sings with the boy. Okay, now in the second stanza, what is the second stanza? But to go to school in a summer morn, oh, it drives all joy away. Under the cruel eye outworn, and little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. Now, what is outworn? O-U-T-W-O-R-N. Outworn. Outworn means out of date. Okay, no longer usable. You can say outworn means no longer usable. Okay, and what is dismay? Dismay means concern or distress caused by something unexpected. So here the boy, what is the boy trying to say? In the second stanza, the boy states, further the poet states that the boy does not like going to school in the summer morning because he has enjoyed the morning with the birds. Okay, so when it comes for going to school, it is not at all liked by the boy. Okay, it takes away all the joy and happiness of him. When it comes for him to go to school, it takes away all the joy and happiness of him. He is not willing to go to school at all. Okay, the teacher keeps a close eye. He has written there, in the poem, you can see the line. You can see the line, under a cruel eye outworn. Means here, what is the boy trying to say? Here the boy is trying to say that when the teachers keep a close eye on the student, what happens at that time? At that time, the children have to spend the entire day in sadness and distress. This is the thinking of the boy. And you all know that actually that's not true at all. At the school, the teachers are very joyful with you. Yeah, I would say that the teachers are strict, but when the teachers are strict? When you do mischief, when you don't pay attention, you don't study, at that time the teachers are strict. But here, looking at the outer world, where the birds are flying, the trees are blooming, blossoming, the boy feels that going to school takes away all his joy and happiness, because he feels that going to school, the teacher keeps an eye on the students, and during this the students have to spend the entire day in sadness and distress. Okay, now moving to our third stanza. Now moving to our third stanza. Ah, then at times I drooping sit and spend many of anxious hour, nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning's bower, worn through with the dreary sour. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? How can a child, when fears annoy, with droop his teacher wing and forgets his youthful spring? Okay, so this is the next stanza which we have read. Okay, what is the poet trying to elaborate more in this poem about the boy? Here the poet is trying to say more that the boy, when he sits in the school, he sits for long hours with drooping. Drooping means hanging down. Okay, the boy sits long hours with his head hanging down silently, and while he is doing so, he is not at all interested in listening to reading the books, listening to what the teacher is telling, okay, and nor he likes to sit for learning. He sits in the class and gets bored with the lectures of the teacher. Okay, what is the poet trying to say here? The poet is trying to say that the boy sits in the class for long hours with his head down, hanging down. Okay, he neither enjoys reading his books nor does the boy enjoy in learning. The boy gets bored with the lecture of the teacher. Further, the poet compares himself, means the boy, you can say, the boy here compares himself to a bird, to a bird, and the school with a cage. The boy in this poem is comparing himself to a bird and the school with a cage. Okay, now as the bird cannot sing in the cage, whenever you put a bird into the cage, you must have seen that the bird, the birds flying freely in the sky, and the bird in the cage. Have you noticed both of the birds? What difference is there? The bird that is inside the cage is much more sad than the bird that is flying freely. So here the boy is comparing himself to a bird and comparing the school as a cage. Okay, now as the bird cannot sing in the cage, similarly the boy is telling that as the bird cannot sing in the cage, he is also not able to enjoy, or he cannot enjoy his childhood in the school, because in the school he has to read, he has to study, learn. Okay, so the poet says that the children are afraid of the teacher, and the boy feels that he is a prisoner in the school because he does not have the freedom as the bird in the free sky has. Okay, as a caged bird lets its wing down and forgets to share the joy of spring, similarly the boy also forgets to enjoy his young days. When he is at school, he has forgotten what enjoyment is. So that's why he is telling that his condition is same as the bird in the cage. As the boy is in the school, he feels like his condition is same as the bird in the cage. Okay, now in the last stanza, O father and mother, if buds are nipped and blossoms blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the springing day, by sorrow and care's dismay. How shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer fruits appear? Or how shall we gather out griefs destroy, or bless the mellowing year when the blast of winter appears? Okay, so in the last stanza, what is more the poet is now trying to say here about the boy. In the last stanza, the poet appeals to the parents. Okay, what is the poet appealing to the parents? The poet is here appealing to the parents that not to harass their children. School going kids are very sensitive and delicate. Here the poet is in the last stanza is trying to say to the parents that that please don't harass your children for going to school, because school going children are very sensitive and delicate like birds and flowers. If they are being burdened, now if you see that a small bird or a small tree, if you try to harass them or put pressure on them to grow more early, they won't grow. They will take their own time to do it. Okay, so same way the poet is now here appealing the parents that don't harass your children to go to school, because the school going kids are very sensitive and delicate like the birds and flowers. If the children are being burdened, they will grow unhappily. Okay, and they will fall similar to the flowers. So without a happy childhood, this world will be full of sorrow. The poet is trying to say here that without a happy childhood, the world will be full of sorrow. So let the children grow happily. Don't harass them. The summer will not rise in joy, and the plant will no longer bear fruits. So that is why the poet is trying to say here that parents should not harass their children for going to school, but here it's only an experience of the child. Okay, here the poet is only trying to share the imagination of a child, that what a schoolboy feels. But we all know that the parents do think of our better future. No parents harasses the children. None of the parents like to harass their children, right? Our parents only want our best future, our good future. That's why they want us to get good education, right? For studying, you should have a proper time. Okay, just make a schedule, make a proper time and study. If you study at proper time, give some 2 to 3 hours a day. There are 24 hours in a day. From that, if you give 2 to 3 hours for studying, why would your parents say anything to you? Right? And when you are coming to school, the school is not a cage for you, my dears. It's a temple of knowledge. It gives you education. It teaches you what kind of a person you should be. Right? So here in this poem, it's only an imagination of a school child, that what does a school child imagine after looking the outside world. Okay? So in short, what is the conclusion of this poem? At the end, the conclusion is the same. The poem teaches that being parents, we shall take care of our children. It is the duty of the parents to see that the children are happy. Okay? If sometimes it happens that you are being sad for some of the other reason, it is the duty of the parents to take care of it. That why is my child unhappy? Okay? It is a duty of the parents to see that their children are happy, joyful and free. Okay? And if we want our generation to be happy and prosperous, we need to make their childhood a happy one. Okay, if we want that the future, that our generation should be happy, then what should be done? The childhood should be happy one. Then only the future, the generation will be happy and prosperous. So this is all about the poem, The Schoolboy, in which we saw that what was the child thinking, in which we have also seen what appeal was given to the parents. What are they to do? They have to take care of their children. Okay, they have to see that the children are happy, joyful and free, and also see that the childhood of their children is a happy one. Okay, they should not put the burden of the child for studying. One thing is this also, parents should never put a burden of studying on their children. Okay, and children should also listen to their parents, what they want to say. So this is an end of the poem, The Schoolboy. Okay, I'll give you the worksheet related with this very soon. Till then, take care of your health, wear the mask, wash your hands again and again. I'm hoping to meet you all very soon.